Hello, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
You're my favorite girl. You make my simple.
Hello.
And I feel like you need to put more of your jokes on this episode as well because that video has really gone viral. It's reached almost 14,000 people.
Sahil was telling me, stop putting clickbait videos.
It's not a clickbait. That means he's not watched the episode. It's not a clickbait.
How is my mom being on Tinder has anything to do with the entire episode, Jess? So it was a clickbait.
It's an important portion of our conversation.
Well, if you say so.
No, but that post did well. I think our other post also did well. The
Ah,
letter to the baby. Letter to younger self, not baby, younger self. It's very sweet.
why? What did you find sweet?
I think it was a very emotional exercise. I was telling my friend the other day that we did this for Women's Day, and she was like, I don't know if I'm there yet to write to myself because I feel like there are a lot of wounds that I haven't opened when I'm older. And it can be like a Pandora box. Like I might open up things that I won't be able to address at the moment. So I think you need to, like, it's a very long process of where you get till until you can say, okay, I can go back to those wounds and though they've probably like healed and to write to yourself. Like that's what I felt in the while I was writing it. And then when I was reading yours also, I was reflecting and I was like, you know what? We saw all of this between each other, but we never realized how deep the impact could be. Like it impacts us till today.
When I read your letter, I cried. I was in class and I just could feel tears stinging because exactly what you were saying. I could literally just see at each phase, and somehow I could see you sitting in the dorm, sitting in class, sitting in the basketball court, in all the different places in Mayo, and having these conversations with yourself.
That and I think and in the end I wanted to write about our struggles with our body because I feel like and when I was writing about that I was thinking about you and then I went to your letter later on because I wrote my letter first. You'd written your letter first, but I was like I don't want to read it because I know we've had so many similar struggles, but I know that the body issue was something similar and I know for you it had to do with a lot of other aspects, and for me it was very different, but I think at the root of it was how consumed we've been about thinking about our bodies. Like there was this trend on TikTok called "What's Your Roman Empire?" So what's something that you think about every day? And I saw that trend maybe like a year or two ago, and the first thing that went to my mind was like, I have thought about my body every day for the past 28 years. And when I was writing that, and then I read your letter later on, and you have that, portion about your body as well. And I'm like, how much have we given ourselves? How much time have we spent just trying to fix something that wasn't supposed to be fixed, like trying to fit into a mold that wasn't supposed to be for us?
It is my Roman Empire. I Okay, so I'll tell you that for you your weight was
Yeah,
your issue, right?
yeah.
But you know how we always discussed it? I don't know if you remember back in school also, I was obsessed with body hair. Like,
Hmm.
Jesselina, I was obsessed. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, I want to tell you something. Like, I mean, I have had issues, that are a medley of things that are looked at by society as not desirable.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Body hair.
Hmm.
I had eczema growing
Hmm.
up. Then I always had issues with my weight.
Hmm.
I mean, these are such difficult topics for me to come to terms with. But growing up, I was very, very, very conscious of body hair, very conscious uh, of my hair. Like, especially for this episode today, I decided not to do up my hair because I just have never been able to feel good about myself if I have not gone to a parlor back in India, if I did not go to a parlor, got my hair blow dried, got my eyebrows done, got my upper lip done, got myself fully waxed. Until then, there was no way that I could feel good about my body. I would always feel ugly. And it took me so much time. And that is why, coming back to the point of your friend, that is why I could write that letter to myself and address that because I have overcome it. I have
Mm.
somehow overcome it. Now I go days without not like hyper raising. It's okay if like a hair or two is coming out of my chin or my upper lip. It's fine. I do not obsess over it. If I forget it, I forget it, and that is my way of being easy on myself. Like I have come to terms with that. But wait, I struggle with it day in and day out. There is not 1 minute in this entire day, 24 hours, when I'm not thinking about my weight, how I'm looking, how my face is.
Tell me something. So for me, my weight has been my Roman Empire, or my something that I think about every day. And I know exactly when it started, and I'll share that in a moment. And I know exactly where it started. What I'm trying to understand from your perspective is, for your hair, was it something that was like, pinpointed by students or teachers when you were younger, or was it something that you saw in media? Because for me, my weight thing was something that was pinpointed by, larger society growing up, students. When I was in like class 1, I have this experience I want to share about class 1. So it really started from there. It wasn't like a media thing. Then of course media fed into it. But where were your issues about hair coming from? Like, when did you start thinking, okay, this is not how it should be, and trying to change yourself where it shouldn't have been?
I think it had to do a lot with who I saw around me in school.
Mhm.
I was abnormally hairy growing up. Like
But
when
I
I
don't think it's abnormally hairy. I think you have Indian genes, strong Indian, North Indian genes, and that's what it is. You have
so
a strong head of hair.
we had to wear skirts when I
Yeah.
was in Varanasi. I was in Delhi public school. And we had to wear skirts. And I still can never forget it, Jesselina. I had this big face. Okay, I have a bigger face. Like I have a round face, and when I gain weight, it becomes bigger. And I had to tie my hair in a ponytail, which I used to find very unflattering. And there used to be a skirt that I had to wear, and my it's so difficult for me to talk about it. And my paunch would come out from it. And then we had to wear these skirts. We had to wear these skirts. And then there used to be like these socks. And then there would be hair in that gap
Between the skirt and the sock.
between the skirt and the sock. And I would go notice other girls and they would not have it.
Mm.
So it automatically became a cause of insecurity for me.
Mm. Mm.
It did. And what began to, and obviously, then I saw people around me. I made observations. I saw how, you know, clean skin, hairless skin was automatically awarded, rewarded
Yeah.
in terms of the attention people got from elders, from relatives, from all around you, and then a little bit from boys also. I mean, at 12, 13, of course, you're not getting that romantic
Mm.
attention, but a little bit of like, you know, that
Mm.
boys want to come talk to you or boys talk about you or whatever. I always felt that this is a sign. I built that notion that this was a sign of not being desired. Like, it's not a desirable quality to have. And then also my obsession with, like, when I was growing up, I used to have this nanny who would come home, and there is this thing in India where you put batna. Batna is basically a mix of turmeric and
Mm.
they make a dough out of wheat. They put like oats and all of that to make it like exfoliant, and
Mm.
you massage it on the skin. Oh, yeah. Now that I think about it, it actually started with those massage routines that would literally to, like, how children would get their bodies massaged to
Yeah.
make it
Yeah.
stronger and all. So for me, it continued till I was 8, 9. And
Mm.
it used to be like that noon would come and with good intentions only, and she'd be like, so hairy, poor you. And she would like keep massaging that thing into my body. I think it had nothing to do with, like, now that I think about it, obviously there were elements that got reinforced, but it started with that. That why do I have to sit and go through this, you
Yeah.
know, this long process of getting my hair removed?
Yeah.
So yeah, I always knew that it was not something that was desirable. I have to get rid of it.
I think for me also, I feel like there have been like moments or instances of where I've been made to feel like I'm someone who gains weight easier. Okay, there are some people in my family who have better metabolism, so they don't gain weight as fast. They also like lose weight really fast when they exercise. I'm one of them who can gain weight really easily.
Yeah.
And my mother is someone who doesn't gain weight. So obviously, when you're growing up, you see a mother and a daughter, and you always think that the daughter will look like the mother. But
100.
I've taken after my father, who has these genes of being able to gain weight really fast.
Same.
And but he also like works out a lot.
Yeah.
So as part of his profession, he has to work out a lot. So he was also very thin when I was growing up. He was much larger before my parents got married. So people have forgotten about that. So I remember when two instances that I remember so clearly. One was I came back, and it was more like a reflective mode. I came back from boarding school in seventh grade, and I was going through some of the forms we needed to submit to school. So I went up there, and my mother has this very sweet habit of all the pictures that we've painted since we've been young, everything. She has folders for me and my younger brother. So everything she has folders of. So I'm looking at the folders, and I come across my first grade, and this is back in 2001. So in 2007, I'm seeing this letter from this teacher in first grade who has written to my mother that Jesselina is coming back home very upset today because a student pointed out to her that she is fat. And I read that when I was in class 7, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize. I don't even have a memory of when these issues started, but there is documented evidence that it hurt me so badly when I was in grade 1. I was what, 5 6 years old maybe in 2001. In grade 1 someone pointed to me I was fat. I didn't know if I was fat then, right? I didn't know if I was fat. And in 2007 when I looked back at that letter, I was like, "Oh my God. It's still bothering me today." And then after that, of course, when I was growing up, I hit puberty very early. So I was in class 5 when I hit puberty. So obviously I'm developing
Yeah.
very differently than the boys, very differently than the girls. And every time I would go to some of the family functions or some of the social functions in Kathmandu, it would be like, your mom is so thin, like what happened to you? And it was such an awkward situation. Like, why would you put a child in a situation like that?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to say? And everyone's sort of targeted opinion would be, oh, lose weight. Oh, like, don't eat too
Don't eat
much.
so much.
Don't eat too much. And I just remember these two instances, and I'm like, this has created such a cyclic event in my life and in my mind, more than in my life, in my mind, because I don't know if I projected outside, but my family knows, I know, my friends know how deep of an issue this has been. And in 10th grade, I obviously, like all of us, it was boards time in India.
Yeah.
And that was one of
Yeah.
the times then we were told, prioritize studies, don't go
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
extracurricular activities, prioritize your studies. So my body, and we were given like extra food
Yeah.
after dinner to
Yeah.
help us study through the night, right?
Yeah.
All of this like carb filled food.
Yeah.
And my body just went into such a different, I don't know. I just couldn't recognize myself after 10th grade. I was like, I've gained so much weight. And since then, I've been like, making lifestyle changes. But even then, it's something that I think about every day. And to think that I don't even have any other memory from first grade except the fact that I know this situation occurred. I would not wish this on my child. That's the thing. I would not wish it on my child or anyone's child for that matter.
So when I was in school and in DPS, right, it was a co-ed school, and I used to be in this bus, and I don't know how it developed. I don't know when it developed. First, I had a very strong sense of humor, always. Okay, so I was never the demure girl. I was always this funny, loud, quirky, cracking joke,
Bubbly? Bubbly?
bubbly, bubbly. So I was always like that, and thanks to my parents, I always grew up not being very aware of, oh my God, I cannot talk to the boy, or I cannot, like, for me, I approached boys and girls very equally in terms of how I spoke. I never had that problem. So I used to be like very friendly with the boys, very friendly with the girls. I used to be loud and, of course, opinionated and funny and all of that. There was a senior in my school, and we used to go back together. He was 2 years older than me, and he had some problem with me. I don't know what was his problem with me, and He mobilized the entire bus to start making fun of me and start calling me a watermelon. Like that became my name. Okay. So there were two synonyms that were attached to me, and this is fourth standard and fifth standard, and it was watermelon and big face. Okay. So, and I remember, um, obviously, I mean, it's not that I was not aware of it. It was not first time, it was fourth, fifth. So I knew this is happening, and every day, day in and day out, and I used to stand up for myself. You know how I am. I never let bullies take the best of me. So I used to stand up for myself. I used to give it back. But obviously, it's like boys coming and imagine entire bus laughing at me every day I'm going back. And I remember one day I was going back home. I would be like, the bus would stop outside my gate and I would step down. And he was like, "Oi, big face," or something. "Oi, watermelon." And I got down, I was getting down, and I turned around and he threw glitter, like a handful of glitter right at my face, and my, like, I was like, like just bullying me, right? And I got down, and I remember I came back home and my mom was like, "What did you do? What happened?" And I remember I wept and I wept and I said, "This is what they do to me." And I feel so bad.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through this. I know bullying is still going on in schools, and I think even especially when you're so young, like, you know, when you're 11, 12 in class 11, 12, you can still like fight back, but when you're young, I just feel like, oh my god, it takes away a part of you. And I faced that in my school. I faced that. I remember when I was sitting for lunch, we used to have these common tables for lunch in my school, previous school in Nepal, which is also co-ed school. And my cousin brothers used to be in a grade above me, and his friend used to sit next to me. So, I would think like these guys are friends with my cousin, so they would be nice to me. He looked at me once, and we were sitting next to each other in the table, and he's like, "Your thighs are huge."
Your thighs.
Yeah, because he was really skinny, and I was like growing up, right? I'm
Yeah,
hitting puberty, fifth, sixth grade.
yeah.
He's like, "Your thighs are huge." After that, I was like, I felt so conscious. Every time I would wear a skirt, I would think otherwise. I think if in school I had to wear skirts, so I was like, I'll wear it, but I would pull it down. When you pull it
You
down, then the yeah.
in Mayo.
No, in the school that I was in, rupees
Yeah.
in Nepal. So I would pull down my skirt below, and then if you pull down your skirt below, obviously my tummy is going to come over there. So then they would make fun of my tummy. Then I'm like, what do I do?
Oh.
I can't even do anything because the belt used to be tight. So I was like, should I pull it niche? Should I pull it upper? Like I just didn't know. It was, I don't know. It really took a lot from me, and I think my brother, who has the genes of my mom, he doesn't gain weight
Yeah,
very fast, and he
yeah.
gets fit really fast. So once I asked him, I think it was during COVID time, when I was, when we started doing COVID,
Yeah.
when they were like, let's use these days to lose weight, like
And
even
we
in
did.
COVID.
And we did.
And we did, but I'm just like, in COVID, like, the entire world is shut down, and what is on our mind? Let's lose weight. That was
Jesselina,
on
do you
our mind.
remember every day I used to send you a picture of how my body is? Every day. I
Yeah,
still have those pictures. And then, sitting with you and obsessing. Do you think I have lost my love handle a little bit? Do you think, like, remember?
yeah,
Over and that used to be so much fun for me because I have a Roman Empire where I'm thinking about, like, uh, my weight and all, and now I'm doing something about it, but I
yeah,
still want to go back and overanalyze it again and again and
yeah,
again and, like, think about it, because then I'm actually dedicating time to think
yeah,
about something that is subconsciously running in my mind day in and day out. You know how
yeah.
fucked up it is? We are talking about it right now, and you know what is the thought going on in my mind? That
What?
when it releases to the world, this podcast, people are just going to be like, here are these two fat girls talking about being fat.
No. No, absolutely not.
But this is the thought. Like, I'm just telling you, that's how, um, I don't know, that's how twisted my brain has become about how I view
But
myself.
here's the thing, it's body issues are not just limited to people who are fat. I know friends who are thin who are constantly thinking about their body. Women are just constantly thinking about their body.
I feel so bad. I feel so bad. And I'll tell you one thing. You're so right. I feel so bad about, looking at body issues and body image only from a point of view of a person who's fat, like who has gained weight, and we begin to feel, oh my god, it's only us who have to struggle twice the amount who have to. And then, on Instagram you'll see, so I have a family friend, and she's really thin and very pretty and everything, okay, and she's married now. And I would often a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine, so I would look at her pictures on Instagram every time she would post from an event or a festival or whatever, and I'd be like, lucky her, yaar. And I would respect her because she used to work out, she eats right, very disciplined. So I would like, lucky her, yaar. She has the consistency, the discipline to maintain this word. But look at the rewards that she's getting. She's so thin, and sort of like admire her, but with the sense of envy, right? That I wish I could also be so small and things like that. And then the other day she came home for tea and we were talking, and she told me that all those pictures that I saw, just imagine, in my world, I'm looking at those pictures and those are triggering my insecurities and I'm whatever. On the other hand, the same time those pictures were getting clicked, she was being told by her relatives and everyone around that how skinny she's become, how thin she's become, and how rapidly sick she's looking. Like, she's looking unwell, she's looking sick. Then she went on and ran some tests and found out that she has lactose intolerance and some kind of intolerance, because of which she's not able to digest food and having chronic diarrhea, chronic digestive issues, because of which she's losing weight.
Mm.
And I just wanted to, like, it was so difficult for me to understand that she is struggling with weight. And she said, I need to gain some weight now because I'm being shamed for being thin. But you know what is the problem, Jesselina? You started with this whole thing about what gets us to think like that, right? It is the whole South Asian culture where we are just obsessed. And you and I are also the same people, by the way, with
I don't think it's just South Asian culture. The people here are also
But
obsessed.
Jessica,
Every
it's the first sentence a person speaks to you when you go back home.
yeah.
First sentence. Anyone. From your father to your mother to the help in the house to the relatives you meet, anyone, everyone. Maybe except your friends, I feel. Like sometimes, maybe excepting your friends. Everyone will first be like, wow, lost so much weight. How much weight did you lose? Oh wow, yeah, looking so nice. Oh, so you gained some weight. What happened? Like,
I
if people are
I
very
have a
close.
yeah. I have been very mindful of this, and I think I was reading some post about how I don't want to compliment people about weight loss, and I don't want to comment to people about their weight gain, because two things. One, like you said, there could be people who are trying to gain weight, are losing weight because of illnesses, right? There are situations, and
Yeah,
not being respective of that, I think, is very troubling. Second, I don't think it's important and necessary to, especially during the summertime, we're all wearing like shorter clothes, and not just about weight, also about body scars, body hair. I think South Asians have this sort of very like personal touch in our life, so we go a step forward to comment and compliment. Both, it goes both ways, both
and
comment and
also when you're complimenting someone on their weight loss now, and then suddenly, like, the person begins to receive a lot of compliments because they have lost weight, because their skin has cleared up, because all of this has happened. Then they begin to attach their self-worth with that, you know.
if you start complimenting people on their weight loss, and if you start commenting on people's weight gain, then essentially you're saying that all the good things I can say about you is very limited to your physique.
Your physique, and then your self-worth, like, constantly starts becoming attached to that. Then everything begins to. But I want to shift the topic a little bit and talk about, no, you have not felt it, but me, I mean, your country did not feel it, but my country did go through this intense like these years and years of colonialism, right?
Well, there was not colonialism by the British per se, but there was internal imperialism.
So I just feel, and people don't talk about it, and there is this Dr. Yubin Ahmad, if I'm not wrong. Let me check. I wrote his name the other day to
That South Asian doctor who explains.
Dr. Said, Dr. Mubin Said. Yeah.
He's that who relates everything to like how South Asia is impacted and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so there was a study by Brown University, and then he also went on to explain it, but I know it since a really long time because I have PCOD, right? You know that. So, and that's how like I became very, very thin in my teenage years, and used to starve myself, used to diet, go on crash diets, this, that. And my body was also very easy to lose weight, easy to gain weight. So I would lose weight very easily, very fast. And then at 23, 24, because of a lot of stresses that were going on in my family and everything, I suddenly began to store fat, like very, very, and it became tougher and tougher for me to lose weight. And then the weight gain would happen very, like very fast and a lot. It was not natural what was happening. And I ran some tests and it turned out that I have PCOD. Now, whatever, PCOD also makes you predisposed to diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and a lot of other things, amongst weight loss being one of the challenges. So obviously I went on to do a lot of research because now I've been struggling with it for like now over 5 6 years now. And then they said there that South Asian community as a whole is predisposed to diabetes and cardiovascular diseases, PCOD being one of the buckets within cardiovascular and diabetes, right? And why is that? Because scientifically, if you are if a generation faces famine, like if tomorrow today our generation faces famine, the next generation is twice as likely to be predisposed to diabetes and three times more likely to have 2.7 to three times more likely to have a cardiovascular diseases, even though their generation does not have famines. And this effect is
Yeah,
multi-generation going
yeah.
on to grandchildren and great grandchildren, you
I
know?
think and I think the study is called epigenetics. Like they were looking at how genes sort of change because
Change.
of you've adapted to starvation at some point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You've adapted to starvation, and now with food abundance, your body is
yeah,
not able to adapt to that, and it begins to store fat. It goes into
yeah,
this stress mode.
yeah.
So for if the same amount of exercise that like if a Caucasian exercises a certain amount, we need to exercise twice as more to see the benefits of that.
Just yeah, just on that. So that day I was reading this article and it said Hollywood's excessive use of Ozempic is disproportionately impacting the South Asian community. This was the tagline of the paper. And I was like, interesting. What
Why?
is the correlation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Ozempic is not just used to lose weight, it's used for pre diabetic people.
Yes,
South Asians are predisposed, as you said, because of their starvation adaptation, to be at a higher level of being insulin resistant, of being pre diabetic, and they are the ones who are in most need of Ozempic to help control their insulin.
I was just thinking that
And,
right now when you were talking.
and now that Hollywood has sort of
Take
amassed Ozempic,
yeah,
there is shortage of it, and the cost obviously goes higher then. Shortage, higher cost, and who's being the most disproportionately impacted? South Asians who
ones
are
that need it more.
pre-diabetic because of the epigenetics of starvation adaptation. Like imagine that tagline. I was like, wow, my mind was blown at the end of it because I didn't even make that correlation when I read the tagline.
That's so true. India just like in 1943 had West Bengal was absolutely crippled by the famine.
Yeah, yeah,
Millions of death, by the way. I have the exact number also written, but millions of death. We had from the time the colonialism started till the time it ended 1947, we saw 31 famines in our country in south, which is India, Bangladesh, Pakistan. I'm sure effects must have even gone up to Nepal. Like I'm just like thinking like correlate. So imagine with that how much often, and it was just 71 years ago, yeah, 72 years ago. We think, whatever, colonialism is a thing of the past, but it's not. 70 years is not even a century. We are still living, we still have people who have seen India get independence, who were living in pre-independence. They are still alive. So we are still in that, line of being direct generation that is being affected.
So another thing to this is the gender impact, right?
Yeah,
So it's very common and well known that women in South Asia are,
the
a
last
large portion of them are anemic. They
anemic.
have iron deficiency, right? And there was a study about how, yes, we have all of these South Asian epigenetics, like you said, with Nepal sort of history as well. And I would love to talk to you more about that. I think that would be an interesting research also. Like, there was no colonialism in Nepal, but similar practices and how they've evolved the country into what it is. But when we look at the larger proportion of South Asia, the 8 countries that are there, a common theme that we're seeing in these patriarchal institutions is what? Women eat in the end.
I
Women
was just
eat
saying that.
last.
Yeah. And
Women eat last and eat less.
eat less, eat not a balanced diet, because now whatever is left, now today only
Yeah.
dal is left, so I'll only eat dal with rice, vegetable got over, or my child left the food. A lot of moms eat their children ka food, yeah.
They showed this scene very nicely in the movie Mrs. In fact, what they show is that they show the dichotomy of the mother and the daughter-in-law, the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. The daughter-in-law is also eating in the end. She's got her own plate. The mother has taken her son's plate, like a
Oh,
plate with food that was still there. He's walked off from the table. She scraped the plate and now is eating on that same plate.
yeah.
And it was such an interesting reflection in that movie. But no, it is because of that. Women are eating in the end. Women are eating less, and that's why 1 in 2 women in South Asia are anemic. That is not normal levels of anemia. There's something wrong that we need to be curing.
But then on the other hand, you also have women who are diabetic, you also have women who are overweight, you
But
also have,
that's the thing. It's not just about lifestyle. So when they did the epigenetic study, they realized it's not just about lifestyle.
it is
It's
also
not just
the
about
it is also
it's
the cultural
it's
practices
this
that
it's
have
the
been.
it's the cultural practices that come from, like you said, from generations, but it's also the gender dynamics that form around that cultural practices. Getting it? So there is a vertical sort of dynamic that's being placed, but in every vertical dynamic that's being passed down through generation, there's a horizontal dynamic of gender that's still being applied. And if you flip it to America, I think one of the conversation is, why are people unhealthy here? But when they did a similar study in America, they're like, it's not just about lifestyle, it's not just about what people are eating, it's about class structures.
Okay.
Fat phobia and classism go hand in hand, because people who are earning less, they want to have a higher calorie diet, so they can get a higher calorie diet in the least amount of money. And
Hmm.
what is that? It's not healthy food from Whole Foods and organic food.
Oh, people in the lower rungs of the class, right?
Yeah,
Yes, they
yeah.
want to eat as much as they can, because then there is this whole idea that I don't want to starve. Yeah.
I don't want to starve, but I want to save money. I don't want to spend that much. So, what is the cheapest food with the highest calorie?
Mm,
Something like a McDonald's, something like a processed food.
yeah. Yeah.
So, when they did this study in the US, we keep talking about, oh, people are so obese in the US. It's not just about lifestyle, it's also about class structures and who is eating what. I think that's what's important in the conversation that we need to have. That when we're and I think that's the difference when we're talking about, let me know your perspective on this. So when we're talking about fat phobia, or the body positivity movement, I think a lot of times the conversation is, why is the body positivity movement only about people who are overweight? Why isn't it taking into consideration people who are on the skinnier side, right? And I 100% think individual sort of reflections need to be taken into that consideration. Individual health needs to be taken into that consideration. But I think structures of society don't don't allow fat people to exist in the same way they allow skinnier people to exist. And I
That's
think that's what our understanding is. Because even like you said, we will always look at a skinny person, and that's wrong in itself, and think that, oh, they're fit, and look at a fat person and say that, oh, they're fat. But the question is never about whether you're fat or skinny. The question is whether you're fit, right? And fit for a white person, like you said, will look very different to a fit from to for a South Asian person. BMI, that's why they've critiqued the
Yeah.
body mass index. They're like, South Asians have lower body mass index, but why are they pre-diabetic? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
No, also the fat to lean muscle composition. South Asian inherently and genetically have higher fat and lower lean mass vis-a-vis a Caucasian. Okay, great. Again, coming back to the point, I have come to terms with curly hair, with bushy eyebrows, with body hair. These are the aspects of body image that I have come to terms with. I can
Mm,
speak about it objectively, okay?
mm,
And you've
mm.
told me that you developed this objectivity about your body, about like this recently, two
Yeah,
years
yeah,
ago,
yeah.
where you were like, I'm not going to like, and you can talk about it. I, on the other hand, have not developed that objectivity.
Honestly, it was, I think I've told you this experience. I was crying one day at home. I was really crying, and I was crying to my younger brother, who I was like, maybe he won't understand because he doesn't gain weight like the way I do.
Hmm.
And poor thing, he was like, at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, are you fit? You don't need to ask yourself, are you fat? The question needs to be, are you fit? Because he was seeing me. I was running 5K in the morning and coming back home and crying, like, I still have a stomach. It's not going. I'm still fat. And he was just like, are you fit? And I was like, I am fit. I've always been fit, in class 10, like I said, class after class 10, I was like, I need to do a lifestyle change. I've given up soft drinks. I don't eat chips. It's been what? 10 years.
You don't eat rice, which is your favorite
I
food.
don't eat rice, which is insane. It's been not more than 10 years, 2010. It's been 15 years. Oh my God. I've not had Coke. I've not had chips. I've not had Lay's. Sometimes here and there people offer, and I'm like, okay, let me just take one bite. But I, and the only time I have rice now is when people offer sushi because I'm like, you know what, it's so awkward to say no. But even in Nepal, like, I do offend people sometimes when I say, because in Nepal, chapati or roti is not as common
It's
as
not
it
a
is in
staple.
India.
Yeah, it's not
It's
a
not
staple.
staple. Rice is staple. So it's really difficult in Nepal when I go to, functions and family friends' homes, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't eat rice because I really saw the impact of rice and how it's stored in my body, and I wasn't happy with that.
Yeah.
So I needed to make a lifestyle
You know
change.
what? Rice suits me better than roti. Like, it's my body. But
Yeah,
if I eat, for me, I store naan, I store chapati, I store wheat. Like,
yeah,
my body stores fat through that. And
yeah,
rice gets digested like this. Like, if I'm only on a rice diet, I lose
yeah.
weight. Anyway, that's psychology of food. I can do a thesis on on these things, and the amount of experiments I have done on myself, it's insane. Anyway,
No, but it truly is. I think for me, I've gotten better with accepting my body when I ask myself, am I fit or not? And some days I
yeah,
haven't been going to the gym well. So
yeah.
what's
So that's
what
my
have you been
point.
doing?
That's my point. You have reached that objectivity, and I'm very proud of you. But you have to understand, I haven't reached that
Mm.
objectivity. So for me, even though I'm a victim of body shaming, I also perpetuate body shaming. You understand what I'm trying? Like, I won't body shame a person, but
But you're shaming yourself in certain
I'm
ways.
shaming myself. I don't look at, a woman like who's rounder or bigger or thicker and feel inspired by her embracing her flaws. You understand what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I know
I
it can be
yeah.
controversial what I'm trying to say, but I do not relate to that because, again, I'm not objective. For me,
Mm.
I instantly see that as a threat to myself, that the moment I normalize in my head, try and understand my
Yeah.
psychology. In my head, I've not come to terms with the fact that it's okay, this is my body, I can accept it. I'm constantly pushing, I'm constantly, even though I'm not doing much, but in my head, I'm doing a lot of exercises. How can I do? What can I do? Where can I lose weight? What can I eat less? What can I eat more? The whole food noise is
Mm. Mm.
constantly overcoming my
Mm.
psychology. But you have to understand, I'm still trying to get to that stage of being skinny, of being a certain weight. So when I see someone accepting or someone being like, okay, you know what, this is my body, I'm going to respect it, I'm going to love it with all its flaws, I'm like, that means this is the moment I'm becoming complacent. So
But
my
I'll tell
my mind
I,
doesn't allow me.
but I'll tell you something. Even at your thinnest, even at my thinnest, when we were like 17, 18. when
Yeah.
we went to college first year, we look back, I remember not once did we think we are thin and this is enough.
Yeah.
This is where we have to be.
So they were
So
like,
what I'm
oh,
trying to tell you is objectively, like I can empathize where you are right now, and it is like a process to learn and unlearn. But I'm telling you, it never stops. It never stops. To when you try to change your body, and I think that's why the mentality I'm going with is, am I fit? And fit doesn't mean having to run 5 kilometers. People who do yoga are much more fitter than me. People who do Pilates are much more fitter than me,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So for me to be surrounded by women who are accepting the bodies as they are, but focusing on health. You could be the skinniest but not healthy. You could be, overweight in what BMI is considered overweight and still be healthy and still be fit. So I think that has been my how I've been more comfortable in my body and how I address it.
But also, Jess, so we don't talk about how structurally I mean, you were talking about it. We don't give room for different types of bodies to exist, man. Like, I do not fit into Zara clothes, however much I try, whichever size I pick up. I go to Zara and I come back depressed. I go to brands like these. Not that I'm not fitting into that M or whatever L or small. Like there are some brands where I fit into that. Like if I go to Anthropology for that matter, if I go to H&M for that matter, if I go to Marks and Spencers, I fit. But Zara somehow, like the way it fits on your boobs, the way it fits on your hips, the way it fits on your stomach. It's like it's not designed for me only, even if I buy a triple XL. It's like even if I
Yeah.
buy a triple XL. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? It's
Yeah.
not fitting me. It's like I have no space. They have no size for me. And
And-
that's what feels
yeah.
so alienating, yeah. It
But
feels
I think that's also like the different body structures. Like I'm like bigger on top and smaller niche. I think you're bigger on niche and smaller on top. Like we have like you have a more Indian body. I have less of an Indian body, but still a South Asian body, a more full figured body, right?
yeah.
But I feel like for me, whenever I buy tops, they're fitting me. Let's say on my arms, on my stomach, but they're not fitting me on my boobs. Then I have to go for a larger size,
And then
and
your sleeves
that's
are not
too
fitting you as well.
the sleeves are not fitting me,
Same,
and the same with
same.
my jeans. So I think it's also who is designing these clothes and who are they designing for, and that's why I feel like maybe something like like a sari is so simple sometimes. You get your blouse fitted for yourself, and you just keep passing it down generations and generations, and it's the same thing.
Oh, nice. You're right.
Um,
But the structure, I'll tell you another thing, okay? Now this is another thing that perpetuates my insecurity day to day basis. But then another thing is how people viewed Sahil and me.
mm,
So many people
mm,
when I was dating Sahil, so many people, well-meaning, well-intentioned people, would tell me, um, you know what? Lose weight, lose a little bit. You can't afford to look bigger than him. You can't afford to look thicker than him. Like he's a
mm,
man, and it did not only put pressure on me, it put pressure on him also.
yeah,
You know, for
yeah.
to constantly adhere to the standards that the society is setting, that he needs to be broader, he needs to be certain way, and I need to get smaller and smaller for him to fit into him. You know, the whole thing,
But
like,
that reflects a larger conversation of how straight relationships are meant to be, like women more confined,
shorter with
shorter, confined, voice smaller, men more loud, quote
taking
unquote,
up more
wearing the
space.
pants in the relationship,
Yeah,
uh,
taking more space.
taking more space. And I think for South Asian women, I think maybe it comes from that article that I shared with you. Women have been told to think about their body, or have been made to think about their body for so long. We're not thinking about our rights. We're thinking more about our body than about our rights,
Yeah.
right? If you tell a woman that you're too big, you're constantly confining yourself to a structure that needs you to be small. Your voice, your size, your hair, everything.
You've
What
told
are
me
you
this so
essentially
many
doing?
times. You've told me this so many times. And, like, you know, the whole speak when you're spoken to narrative that I was fed with when I grew up. Put your legs together, speak when you're spoken to. Delicate, demure,
Yeah.
keep to yourself. what if I did not? Okay, no offense to people who speak softly and are delicate, right? But what if this was never my personality? Like maybe I
Yeah,
don't, maybe I was born into this, and
yeah,
constantly making me to fitting me into something that I do not. Just imagine me going to a very soft spoken person, be like, be louder, yeah. Like, why you not standing up? Be like,
yeah,
that would be looked down upon. But
yeah,
someone coming and telling me that soften up is like something that is like, oh, great upbringing.
yeah. No, I think it does come from having had women to be structured in confined spaces,
Round feet
bound feet. Exactly. That's
in
literally a
China.
yeah, bound feet in China. You put women in small spaces, you make them smaller, you make them feel smaller, and they're constantly thinking about being smaller, so they don't think about anything else. They don't think about the rights that are being exploited, they don't think about the structures that they are not benefiting from, they don't think about society, how it's not, supporting them. You're just telling them be smaller. And I think,
And please what is desirable to men, and they also, poor things, are fed with ideas and notions
yeah,
of desirability of
yeah.
a certain type.
I'll tell you something in like how you said the hair aspect, it was a flip for me when I was in India,
I
because I have certain features, and I'm not hairy, I have very fine hair.
Yeah,
So for women who are, who look like me, who might be from Nepal or Northeast and in Delhi, that was seen as
exotic.
like a hypersexualized
uh,
exotification of women and objectification of women who look like me, and that sickened me, because to the point where it was like, do you like me for who I am, or do you like me for the notion that
I have
probably, like,
thick skin.
yeah, I have chikna skin for what, uh I don't know, wherever you're getting your sex education, where pornography has told you to like someone like me, right? So I think it was really disgusting to think that it the alternate of having hair is feeding into what men want, right? Like, and I think that also sometimes, like, it really, like, I don't know, put that sense of like ickiness in me sometimes.
It's so important, and we're having this conversation, and it's so important that the girls who listen to us and the boys who listen to us also, it's so important that they understand that all these things you need to stand up. It's very difficult, but you need to have very strong notions of your identity. Anne Hathaway yesterday was, I was seeing an interview of,
Loving the quoting of Anne Hathaway.
yeah, she said yesterday, and she said it, I think she teared up when she said it. She said yesterday, and I thought I'm going to talk about it in the podcast, that the only way someone can affect you, hurt you, make you doubt yourself is if you have this hole or this vacuum that self love has not filled in you.
Mhm.
It's only from the point of self hate, self loathing, that other people can come and affect you so strongly. So
Mhm.
it is like today, if someone comes and comments on my hair, it's not going to affect me so much,
Mhm.
honestly, because I have filled that space with
Mhm.
confidence, with constant conversations, with drawing reassurance and things like that. But if someone comes and comments on my body, it will trigger me like this. It's because I hate myself for this. I
Mhm.
blame myself for this. So it's very important. And I don't think, you can do it yourself. Parents need to come in, relatives need to come in, people older than you, your older sisters, your older cousins, they need to come in and instill this in a girl's head, that they are loved, that they are beautiful, they are confident for their brain, for these things. And
and
this,
also, and also, like, those weird comments, like, we had these conversations in boarding school, in an all girls boarding school, where it was like, don't wear shorts, cover up, wear pants, bhaiya ji is coming to fix the tap.
yeah,
Like, this is my bedroom, what are you saying?
yeah,
Right? Like, why is a grown man looking at a child? That's the issue. Like, you're constantly telling the woman to fix herself.
yeah, yeah.
The hypersexualization of young girls, the body weight issue, everything is
I
told.
till now cannot share. I think I can only share my weight with you. You're the only person who knows my weight. Honestly, no one knows my weight. No one. Not my husband, not my mom. No one. That day, Sahil wanted
But
to.
Anayata, this is what I want to tell you. It's not about the number. It's about whether you are eating healthy, whether you are losing weight at a good pace. It's okay. If you
And
think
managing my predisposition to certain disease.
managing your predispositions, managing your health issues, that's why I might just get an ultra human ring for myself and for
I
you
know you.
too.
You know what? Let's do this. So on that note, Jesselina, we need to hang up on each other.
Okay. Well, my last lines to people who are listening is the one line that helped me with my body image issues, which my younger brother, who I always think is my little baby and I'm the wiser one, came up to me one day and said, "Don't ask yourself, are you thin or you're fat? Ask yourself, are you fit?" So I think that's helped me come to terms with it. And I just want to, I hope this helps someone, whoever is listening.
Yes, I hope it helps me also. I'm still on a journey to respect my body, love my body more, and maybe eventually I get there. But I'm going to keep trying.
Okay, bye bye.
Hope you guys enjoy it and tune in. Bye bye.
Bye.
Cause you're my favorite